Welcome to The Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us.
Well, I am so excited for today's episode. Welcome back to The Tea with Martha. And today my guest is Adrienne Green, and she is a Go Sis. We are in Go Abundance together, and she is not only a fabulous entrepreneur and mother, but she is a globe trotter. So today we have so many good nuggets that I'm so excited to dig in with Adrienne. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, Martha, thank you so much for having me on here. My background is went to college for business finance, realized that I did not enjoy the corporate world of being in the office, and became a high school math teacher, actually, and then ended up getting into real estate through real estate investing, became a real estate agent, grew a team of real estate agents, and in doing that, used some virtual assistants, ended up starting a virtual assistant business. And so now I have sold my real estate team and I travel the world with my family while running our virtual staffing business to help people get virtual assistants. And then also, of course, manage our real estate investments as well. So I'm married and I have 3 kids. They're 9, 7, and 4.5. And like I said, we are enjoying a time of traveling the world full time.
I have loved seeing your travels, and it's so inspirational on so many fronts, you know, being a mom and an entrepreneur, and my husband and I and our kids love to travel. So you've definitely inspired me. The amazing travels and experiences and the world schooling that you're doing for your kids is really just admirable. So tell us a little bit about you've had a lot of good journey, right? Where you started, what you grew, and then you exited that business. Tell us a little bit about that, and maybe what has been one of the biggest obstacles in that whole process? Because I think often, you know, we see now the success and the fruits of your labor, but what we don't talk enough about is, you know, how you got there, right? And so I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. So, you know, just to talk about my real estate agent career, which was really, you know, one of the earlier things I did with entrepreneurship. We started with real estate investing, and then I was like, well, I'll get my license. That way we can open doors ourselves and not have to deal with other agents. Just takes one piece of the puzzle away and makes it simpler. Well, yes and no, right? That was kind of a naive way to go into a career, but nonetheless, I found that there was a lot I could enjoy and offer people as a real estate agent. And I really got started as an agent in Northern Virginia. And then in 2020, with everything that happened that year, my family and I decided we wanted to move, and we settled on Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, part of that was because it was a great market for real estate investing, which obviously is a focus of mine. And part of it was, of course, the lifestyle I had there as a smaller city. You know, we had 3 young children at the time, and it had a lot to do while also being a small enough place that you weren't fighting traffic or crowds when you went to go do these things. Now, the thing is, for my career as a real estate agent, I was moving to a place where I knew one person and she was a real estate agent. So in a business where like fear is often such a big part of your business, I was going to have a challenge in a new market where I really wasn't going to have any built-in business. And so I'd say that was an obstacle that I overcame. And there were 2 big lessons or strategies that I think any entrepreneur can take away from my experience here. The first is that I really niched down. You know, real estate agents, like I think a lot of businesses were like, we can help everyone. Everyone lives in a house. So we can help you buy that house, sell that house, all the things. And that's such a common challenge for so many service-based businesses, is like, we can help the world. And what I instead chose to do was really niche down. And so I focused on, I can help real estate investors, because that's a specific niche within real estate where I had special knowledge and expertise. Built my whole business there based on real estate investors. So what I did is I went out and networked with, who does a real estate investor need, right? They need the property manager, they need the contractor, they need maybe an attorney locally, things like that. So I went and networked with those people and talked about that. And then the other thing is, well, where are my real estate investors? They're not necessarily in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They are living in other places, and they're maybe in places that aren't good for real estate investing or are really high priced or things like that, which I knew because I'd lived in those places. I knew what that was like. And so the way I was going to find them was online. So I did YouTube channel. I did some investor specific forums, and then I did some Facebook pages and things like that. And that's where I was. And I was putting out content not just about real estate in general, but specifically about real estate investing, so that a real estate investor could see me and know that I was the real estate agent to help them.
That's wonderful, because I think that is so applicable to any industry, right? You need to niche down, and sometimes we want to accommodate everyone, and then you accommodate no one, or you don't serve the right crowd. And so we're spread too thin. And I think that that's fabulous. And tell us a little bit about the success you found there, and then the next step in pivoting from there, because I know that was kind of a launching pad to the next thing.
Well, and so the second thing I did with that business that really helped it do well, so I had the niche. And then the second thing is I got a virtual assistant. Mm-hmm. And I got right after my first closing, early on, when I was like, I'm not overwhelmed yet. And yet I knew I needed that leverage. And so often entrepreneurs want to be solopreneurs. We want to do it all ourselves, or we haven't thought about how easy it can be to bring on a virtual assistant, how easy and affordable. And since we don't know about that, we're like, oh, well, I can't afford an in-person assistant, so I'm just not going to hire, right? I'm just going to do it myself. So the second thing that really helped was getting a virtual assistant, having them do all that operations, all that admin work, anything that was on a phone or on a computer that didn't require my unique knowledge. So like, for example, YouTube. I record the video and then the admin does everything else, right? They are doing the editing, they're doing the thumbnail, they're putting it on YouTube, they're promoting it on social media, and they're doing all that other 80% for all the things in the business. So between having the niche and having virtual assistants, I was able to, in a new market where I knew no one, grow my business where in 6 months I was like, even with a virtual assistant, I'm running ragged, working all the time. And so that's when I decided to start a real estate team and bring on other agents who could help work these leads and work these clients that I had.
Wow. That's amazing. I just love to hear that, because I think that often people's mind blocks, or the stories we tell ourselves is, I don't know anyone. It's a new career, or, just all the things that sometimes are true and valid, yet it's just an excuse that anyone can do anything when they put their mind and focus to it. And that's pretty remarkable that you had that amount of success in a short amount of time, in a new city, in a new niche. I mean, I love that. And then from there, tell us a little bit about kind of what that next step was for you.
Well, so then after starting that team, it was really figuring out all of that leadership, all of that organization, all those operations, which, entrepreneurs who are listening now and who already have a business know what that's like, right? Trying not to be in the weeds all the time, trying to figure out how to manage and motivate and lead people, how to hire the right people for the job. And, with real estate, what the team was composed of was real estate agents and virtual assistants. We never had any in-person assistants. Honestly, it worked really well. And the virtual assistants were able to do, again, a lot of those operations work for the real estate agents, but hiring and managing and leading real estate agents, that's a sales role. And that's tough, right? That's tough. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with a lot. What are people's limiting beliefs? What are their challenges? It's natural to be afraid in sales of rejection, of someone saying no. So I ran this team for 2 years, and it was a lot of, for myself, development in terms of management, leadership. A lot of it was I love systems and processes and SOPs and KPIs and all of that. So getting those in place, and on the operation side with a virtual assistant, getting those things rocking and rolling. And then on the agent side, what that looked like a lot, and putting these systems was, we had a training system, we had operational systems, and it was so cool. And you may have heard this, other people may have heard this before, but when we start tracking some KPIs, right? And specifically for the agents, we were tracking things around lead generation, because during this time, fall 2021, real estate market was great, super active. Well, then 2022 and 2023, interest rates go up, market slows. It got to be more difficult, and you had to work a little more for all the deals, right? And so we started tracking, okay, well, how many contacts are you making, right? What does this look like? And giving people the resources to where they just had to do the work, to send the message that we prepared for them, or things like that. And in doing those KPIs, I really saw, and this is something that I had, heard about in theory, but saw myself, was how people self-select out, right? If a real estate agent wasn't willing, and they knew, we had to talk to 50 people a week, let's say, and we tracked it. And, when I met with them every 2 weeks, it was like, well, you talked to like 10 people this week and last week and the week before. They're realizing that this is not what they want to do, and they self-select out rather than having to be fired or have a more extreme parting of ways.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that that's part of the process that we all go through, right? Like, is this for us? Is it not for us? Do I like it? Do I not like it? And as an employer myself, I that's how it's always, I think, makes it a little bit better or easier, so to speak, when someone self-selects out. Typically, we all know that, it may not work out unless they really want to. So, and then from there, you said, you know what, this is going to be, it's been a great run. And also, I think I want to pivot. Is that kind of what happened? Or what was that shift for you? How did that come about?
So interestingly, I went to the brokerage I was with had a big conference, right? Like many of them do. And so they did a big conference in August of 2023. A few days, raw, great ideas that you can go and implement. And we actually did a road trip as a family to this conference because, my kids were off for summer still. And we're leaving. It was in Austin, Texas. We're leaving Austin and, starting the couple days home to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I was like, there's a lot of stuff that I learned there. That's great stuff. I'm not that enthused about implementing it. It's just not, I'm not like, oh, wow, let me go get this to work in my team. And I was like, I had the team. I'd started it, 2 years prior in August. And I was like, it's time for this to be someone else's baby. I just had realized, and, I know, Martha, that you're a woman of faith, and it just felt like I was being called to do something else. And so I was kind of sitting with that because it's a big decision. Mm-hmm. And, talked to my business coach, big fan of having coaches, somebody there to be, someone to bounce ideas off of. And then it was funny that night, one of our agents, a newer agent who'd been rocking and rolling, was like, you know what, I know we're going to meet tomorrow, but I didn't want it to be a surprise in the meeting. I want to let you know that I want to leave the team and go be a solo agent. And it just felt like that was a sign of like, this is not my thing anymore. Like that departure of like, should I stay here and continue to do this team or not? And it was like, no, this guy who was like very like pro team player, him wanting to leave is like, this is my message. And so I just got super clear that I was going to sell the team. I, like you said, we're in Go Abundance Women. So in my small group, my pod within Go Abundance Women, which was mostly other people in real estate, I said, hey, I've decided I'm going to do this. They suggested resources to talk to. I was able to connect with a guy who specializes in business valuation for real estate teams and brokerages, and just started putting it out there, and it worked really well. I ended up selling the team to a couple agents on the team. And, the entire process was, end of August, I make this decision. End of October, we were signing the closing paperwork. So it really happened in just about 2 months.
That's pretty amazing. I love how when you make a decision and you align to, kind of that tug and that pull, that things, that's when you did the right thing, when you're not having to like push and strive for something. And sometimes that serves us well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm in the season of that, just letting go of the striving and allowing things to come. And God often sends us either messages, or basically the right people, the right time, the right place. And it's just, it's mind blowing when things just fall into place like that. So, well, that's amazing. Congrats, because that's a big decision. That's a really big decision. And especially when you're being successful at something and, I'm sure there was a lot of doubt or insecurities of all the what ifs and should I not, but you took the decision, and I commend you for that, and congrats for finding that success and that, just I'm sure the buyers were also very it probably worked out beautifully for them as well, right? Your hard work and just handing it off to the next best person. And so then you went from that to traveling the world. I mean, I have probably for years, I've talked about that, like just traveling for a year and spending a few months in different places and kind of get integrating into that culture. And so I just, like I said, I just think it's so inspirational. But tell us about that. I mean, we've talked before, so I know the story, but I want my listeners to hear, maybe a little bit of where you've been, right, how you took that step.
Right. Well, so my husband and I have always enjoyed traveling a lot, and we didn't let having kids stop that. Now, of course, it does get more difficult with kids. It was funny. I was just seeing memories from about 2 years ago. We went to Costa Rica for 2 weeks. And so our youngest was like a year and a half at the time. And it was a lot of work because he is an early riser. And so it's like every morning, 5 or 6 a.m. he was up, so there are some challenges, but we never let that stop us. And so we always knew that eventually we'd like to take the family and travel for a year or however long it felt like, but live abroad and experience that. And so when I decided to sell my real estate team, my husband and I have family finance meetings every month, which I highly recommend, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And in that, we realized, well, our other things are all virtual. Our virtual staffing business, we manage virtually, right? It's us and virtual assistants who help run it. So it's not like we had an office or anything for that. And then we have real estate investments, which when we started buying long distance real estate investments in 2019, we had this epiphany of we should not be making money off of, like, it's not profitable if it's taking all of our hours. So we started running everything remotely then, right, with handymen and cleaners and real estate agents and things like that, so that we weren't manually doing anything ourselves anyway. So it was really easy to be like, hey, this is all virtual online. So while we thought we were going to start traveling maybe when my kids are a little older, why not do it now? And so we decided that in September, while we were in the midst of this team sale. And then once the team was sold, we really took a few months to finish wrapping things up, to get the house rented. And we started traveling at the end of February. We did some domestic travel for the first quarter. And then we went abroad. We sold the last car that we were using for kind of road tripping around the US. And we got one-way tickets to Colombia. We spent 3 months in Colombia, which was fabulous. And then we came to Mexico, and we are currently just wrapping up on the tail end with a few more weeks left here in Mexico.
That is so awesome. And then where are you going next? Just curious, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure. Yes. We are going to start the new year in Asia. With this virtual staffing business, we have BAs based in the Philippines. So we're going to go to the Philippines and for the first time ever see our VAs in person and not, over camera. So that'll be fun. And then we're going to spend a couple months in Vietnam, visit Seoul, Korea for a little bit. And then my daughter loves all things Japanese. And so we're going to go spend a couple months in Japan. And of course, we're all very excited for that. And especially her.
Oh, I'm so excited. Asia's on our list. My husband and I are going to take a big trip to Asia. And then we're hoping in the summer to go with the kids because my kids it's on their bucket list. They also want to go to Japan. They love all Japanese food and all these cooking shows. And so that's like their thing now. And they love to cook. And so that's something we do at home. And so tell us a little bit about the VA company. So I'm an entrepreneur. I know I was actually just thinking about this. We've had VAs. I have a VA for one of my businesses. My husband runs his companies. He has 2 companies and he has phenomenal VAs basically that do all his back end office work. But interestingly enough, I had I like having an assistant like here with me because she comes to my house and, just kind of helps me run my life. And I had somebody who I knew was going to leave because she was in school. And so I just decided, you know what, I think my kids are a little bit older now that I don't need that support in driving them around as much as I used to. And so I thought maybe I just need to try a VA, like an executive assistant VA. And I honestly haven't pulled the trigger just because I've been traveling and it's just been busy. But let's say somebody like me or someone in all the different types of industries, but nonetheless an entrepreneur, either business, admin things or personal executive things. How could you support us? How could you support me, let's say?
Well, and I love, Martha, the specific example that you've brought up there for yourself, because honestly, I've had this virtual staffing business. It's called Workergenics for 2.5 years now. And we started off really offering, and I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes or behind the curtain here, since, these are entrepreneurs here that we're listening to. We started off offering part-time and full-time, and pretty much if it could be done on a computer or internet, yeah, we can do that. We can find someone to do that, right? You want full-time video editor, social media, accounting, any of these things. And then we tracked, well, what clients are most successful, right? What really setup allows clients to succeed the most. And what we have found is when people hire a part-time VA, it doesn't work because they're not committed enough and they're not really handing off enough to see the huge 10x boost in their own profit, like productivity and profitability. So we stopped offering part-time VAs and we focus on full-time VAs. And what we really try to offer, if somebody is looking for their first VA hire, especially, is that executive assistant role. Because often the issue is you as the main person in your business, right? Even if like you have, Martha, you've got these daycares, you obviously manage and lead a lot of people. You are the business owner. And if you're just trying to fill another role, right? Like a marketing person or something like that, and yet you still have way too much on your plate, it's going to be really difficult for you to take on the extra work of managing that marketing person and tasking them and helping them succeed. And so we found often what somebody needs first is that executive assistant. They need to take work off their plate in order to be the best leader. And that's where people typically get the most lift from a virtual assistant. And you know what, like, you might be like, oh, I'm not doing that much. And yet you probably have 40 hours of work you could give to someone else, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do so much like in my personal life, and that's where she helped me the most. And I resisted it a few years ago. Like, no, I could do it. I've always done it. But as my business scaled, I had a lot on my plate, and I knew we all know, right? You can't do it all. And so I had a mentor who told me, you can have it all. You can't do it all. And it just resonated with me. Like, I can have be a present and good mom and have dinners and go to, sports and be involved in my community and serve at, in my church and all the things that I always wanted to do, but I didn't know how because there was not enough hours in the day. And so when I brought on help, I mean, even just like booking trips, right? I travel often for a lot of different reasons. My kids have 3, at one time they were all 3 schools, 3 schedules, 3 sports, my personal email is inundated with managing our household. My husband is, we host a lot of dinners and just a lot of holidays between my husband being Jewish, and we have a blended home and just all the holidays, all the things. It's literally just that alone is a full-time job. So having an assistant changed my life completely, allowed me to elevate, allowed me to scale and still enjoy my dinners, still enjoy, the things that mattered to me without being exhausted, overwhelmed, and bitter, because at the end of the day, you're just like, I'm doing it all. So anyway, I am a big, big proponent and believer in delegation and assistance, whether virtually. I think that's the next one for me, although I have it in my business and my husband in his business, but now I'm like, okay, maybe I need to pivot into that personal can you manage my email account? Like my girl used to work for me in my business, so she knew me very well. And then we pivoted her to, being my executive assistant. And so it left a big hole, but we're still friends till today. I still love her. I'm very happy for her, when people kind of accomplish those goals. But anyway, yeah, so I'm excited. We're going to have to connect offline because this is a sign that I need to stop putting it off and get myself some help.
Well, and you bring up another good point that people don't often understand, which is that an executive assistant can do your personal and your business stuff. So like some things we've had executive assistants do before is call around to the local boarding places to figure out who has availability to board our dog, right? We did that when we were, because obviously even before we were traveling full time, we were traveling a lot. So something like that. Or there was our favorite restaurant didn't allow you to book reservations in advance, only the day of. So we always had, when we wanted to go there, our executive assistant had it on their calendar right when they opened to call and book us a spot that day for when we wanted to go to dinner, right? Or like for you mentioning these kids activities or parties or celebrations, they can be the ones to help together if you're doing an online invitation, right? They can put that together. They can choose what that looks like. Do you really need to be involved? They can even, and if you want to still be involved, they can always vet things and give them a list that you're choosing from. Like let's say you want them to help order decorations, right? Or order the groceries. They can order the groceries to be delivered at your house. I've had a virtual assistant do that before. So there's a lot that they can do remotely to help both personally and professionally.
Yeah, I think that is the most underestimated secret sauce. People always ask me like, I don't understand how you do it all. And again, it's like, I don't do it all. I am very active person by nature, and my kids are active and we're all active, but I have a lot of help. And so I think, that is the value and I tell people, people I coach that are kind of that emerging entrepreneur and they're in the past the startup phase have found a little bit of success, but they're just doing it all. And it's overwhelming. It doesn't even compute for them that they can scale or that they can just have balance in life by having that extra support. And when you look at the value of our time, right? This is kind of how I start when I help entrepreneurs just kind of break that mindset and break the ceiling. Is like, in order for you to go to the next level and meet those financial goals or time, vacation goals. Some people just want to have a break or just work a normal schedule, whatever that looks like for you. The first step is allowing yourself to say, you know what? I cannot do it all. And this is, if I want to make $1 million a year and you work your way back, what is my hourly salary? Whether you make that now or not, that's how you want to work, right? You want to operate from a level of, I'm not there yet, but I will be because these are the steps I'm taking. First is delegation and getting that support so that you can make the best use of your time. Time is finite. It's the most valuable asset we have. And so what are we doing with our time? Are we spending it on our phone or on our computer, or are we sitting at a meal, having, good conversation with our kids or our spouse, or taking the time to, go away with our spouse, and no amount of wealth will give us that time back with the most loved ones. So, so if you're listening to this and this is resonating with you, this is your sign to get a VA and get some help, because it is, and even if you just want to have a workout and you want to go for walks, like whatever it is, it's okay. It's okay to allow yourself those treats, by getting some help and freeing yourself from all the million to-dos.
And what's nice with a virtual assistant is, so many people think, oh, well, if I want a full-time assistant, let's use an easy number. It's probably going to cost them $50,000 in the US to have a college educated professional, admin assistant. And I get that can be a large hurdle for people. Like, as you're saying, people you coach. The nice thing with virtual assistants is our virtual assistants, full-time assistants, it comes out to about $11 an hour. So it's, I think, $1,979 a month. So you're talking about $24,000 a year to have a college-educated, English-speaking, professional, full-time assistant for you. And so I don't think that deal can beat without needing to deal with hiring, without needing to deal about what if they quit, will we find a replacement for you, without having to deal with any of the HR stuff, because we are a concierge service that continues to provide that service as long as you work with us. You're not just placing someone with you and saying good luck, right? We continue to provide added support. And so it's great for people who are in service-based businesses, who are these entrepreneurs, to make it easy for them to get that first hire, get all their admin off their plate, not have to deal with QuickBooks, not have to deal with bookkeeping, not have to deal with scheduling or calendars, or if they're doing a podcast like you, Martha, they're not having to coordinate all of that themselves. They're just showing up and recording because the VA is handling all of that operation. So they can really stay in their top 20%, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Amen to all of that. I can't even, it's so, often, all the other thing that happens with people is we don't realize how much we do. We think we don't need somebody, right? Because it's like second nature to us. And I remember one of my coaches at one point years ago, her first assignment to me was, I need you to document for 2 weeks everything you do. And I couldn't believe, I hadn't even realized how much I did because I just did it. And so when you start analyzing and reflecting all the things you do and what we have to do and then what we can delegate, that I can tell you, that was the biggest. That's when I kind of shifted, and then the rest is history. When I realized that I was doing things that I shouldn't be doing and that I could easily delegate. And so I want to get, that's why I love coaching, because I want to gift that to people. Like, you could be so much happier or just less stressed. And that is such a gift of life when you can help somebody accomplish that in their life. And then they, whatever they do with that, whatever that means for them, whether it's traveling the world or scaling their business, it's such a big game changer. So, well, I love you for all the things that the value that you're, bringing me on a personal level. And I know my audience. Any other ideas or thoughts that you would like to leave the audience with from your journey and experience?
I think just realizing that, kind of like you said at the beginning, Martha, how much we're capable of if we kind of get past these limiting beliefs and realize, kind of like I did with my real estate team, that we can make this work. We might want to be creative or innovative. And that's going to be key to making it work, is thinking outside the box. So I hope this was helpful and gave all your entrepreneurial listeners some great wisdom and advice. And if they're looking for a virtual assistant or thinking about what could they do, we actually have a memory jogger tool. If you visit workergenics.com, we have a delegator guide that lists over 100 different tasks that most entrepreneurs are probably doing themselves and can hand off to a virtual assistant so that they can stay in their top tasks.
Awesome. We will make sure to link everything here down below and on the description, but can you tell us where we can find you, Adrienne?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram a lot. If people want to find me there, it's my handle is a real green, and I'd love to share my travels and then also my entrepreneurial journey a lot on Instagram, so people can find me there.
Awesome. And then one more time, what's your VA website?
Sure. Workergenics.com. WORKERGENIX.com.
Awesome. Workergenics.com. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Adrienne. It has been a pleasure just showcasing all the wonderful things that you're doing, and what a gift it is to know you and to watch you and your family travel the world. And I'm so excited just to continue to see that journey. And thank you for kind of paving that way. And sometimes I kept thinking, like, it's not for me yet. I still have all these things to do, but you really have kind of shifted that for me. And so I hope that shift was for someone else as well, whether it be in travels or in their business and delegation. I like to leave our listeners a little bit more inspired than how they came. So thank you for that.
I love it. Thank you, Martha.
Okay. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining me on another episode. If you enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind-the-scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers!